Hey, this is Anne, and welcome to my 31-day Speak to Camera challenge in order to gain camera confidence. And before we begin, I do want to preface that this is raw and unedited, and what you see is what you get. The purpose of this channel is just to be accountable to this challenge. And with that said, we are now on day, what day are we on? We are on day 25. Wow. Okay, 25. Today's prompt is to discuss some regrets you may have and what you wish you've done differently, and to practice speaking with humility in order to show your authenticity. So the topic I wanted to talk about and what I regret, and I do think about it sometimes or occasionally, not as much as I had before, was at a few points in my life I was kind of addicted to MMORPGs, addicted to video games. I guess I don't look like that archetype, but it happened, and because it was MMORPGs, it has that like social aspect to it, and you know I know myself really well, and I know that gamification works really well on me, and I use that psychology on myself to make myself do things too. And it's pretty much because of my experiences essentially being addicted to MMORPGs. Back in the day, there was this game called City of Heroes. It's pretty much like a superhero flavored like World of Warcraft, and I got like super into that game. Was part of like guilds and stuff like that. I was an officer in the guild. We do raids and like have weekly events, or three events per week, something like that. And I was probably one of the younger ones in the guild at that time, and this was around the high school to college age, and whereas the other folks in the like the guild, it's called supergroup in that particular game, and they were a bit older. To me they were like established adults, and they had jobs and stuff and kids. They were probably like in their 30s or so, but the ages ranged from like me, who was like the youngest, who I think was the youngest, and to like 35 or so, something like that. And I got like really into, hanging out with these people. I've never met them at that time. I did meet them like at a video game convention in after that, but by then, like, the game City of Heroes, it kind of shut down. But yeah, during high school and a little bit of college, I was heavily involved in City of Heroes. Then in college, with some college friends, I really got into World of Warcraft, uh, to some detriment of my grades as well. In the World of Warcraft, I like playing the shaman, which is like more of a utility class. I like that I could do a lot of different things, but perhaps none of them very well. But like altogether, it was done well, and it was fun. And pretty much the reason why I kind of got into that was it was an escape. I had like a really bad breakup at that time, and I got closer to some folks who happened to play this World of Warcraft, which is still kicking at this time, and we got into like raiding and all that stuff then as well, and they were basically my social life, and that was something that I felt like I needed at that time, but it was also a very significant time commitment to do raiding and all that stuff. So it wasn't like the best decisions I've made, and I've made them frequently enough to like I said, affect my grades and stuff like that. And then like after college, that was like a little bit of City of Heroes, a little bit of World of Warcraft, and then it wasn't really until like later, like when I was in my 30s, I started playing Final Fantasy 14, and I played it with this time at least it was with friends, IRL friends, in real life friends. And it was a group specifically just for people that we actually knew rather than recruiting random strangers off the internet. But that particular void was because, at that time in my career, I was kind of bored. Like, I was a little bit aimless. I was working, I'm pretty sure, in education at that time. And it was just like, what else do I do with my time, right? Like, other endeavors really didn't cross my mind. And it was just sort of trying to climb the career ladder. And that to me was like soul sucking. But here's this fun thing that I could, use with my friends to escape. And we are able to have little achievements that, every step of the way you get little rewards, and you have that dopamine hit. So it was addictive in that sense. And overall, like, I think it helped filled certain voids in different parts of my life. But and I think if I did it in moderation, it would have been fine. It would have been fine for small escapes. But because of the fact that when I get really into something, I go all in, and I essentially let it consume me. And then because of the fact that there's the social aspect of it, like it replaced in especially during the college years, and after college, it replaced like in-person socializing for me, which is like, it was perfect for me, the introvert, because I got to do this thing in front of a computer, and didn't have to be in like awkward situations and have to talk to people, which would like make me really drained and tired, and uncomfortable. So like, here's this I'm getting my social needs filled. I'm thinking of like The Sims at this point. Like, the social meter is filling from playing online rather than going out to like a party or a gathering or something, and then having to talk to people in real life. And that wasn't a good thing. And I used it as a crutch too much. And then, of course, there's like the other influences of not wanting to let people down, because it's like, the type of classes that I tend to play, like instead of heroes, I was the tanker. I like setting the pace. In like I said, in World of Warcraft, it was the shaman, which I could be the healer, or I could provide buffs or whatever. And then in Final Fantasy, I was the healer, and so it was like classes that were all kind of necessary in some way. So like I kind of didn't really want to let people down, and it's in some cases like, if I couldn't make a certain raid or something, then the raid just won't happen because they don't have like a second string or something like that, and then I'd feel really bad. So like, because like I tied my social like needs to gaming, that was just another thing that kind of like sucked me in and kind of consumed me, and it was hard for me to let go then. And if I were to tally up the time, I would say, like, if I had treated it like a full-time job, it was probably like with all the gaming time throughout the years, it was probably like 5 years worth of time that I could have been spent doing something else, or like I spent in rather than sleeping, or rather than working on schoolwork. Like, I could have made much better use of my time, and even though that 5-year number is kind of arbitrary, it still doesn't feel good to say that. And I do regret not having like real human interactions instead, even though it made me uncomfortable, even though like it drains me. Like, the relationships I had in those guilds or super groups or whatever, like I keep in touch with like one person, whereas had I just, been a little bit more social, or forced myself to be in more social situations with real humans, that like maybe I could have had more fulfilling relationships that would have lasted throughout the years. Because like I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a ton of like people I could call friends at this time, especially those that like I have easier access to. Some of them they've moved far away, and then some of them we've grown apart. So like there's I want to say like a handful of people that I actually like would say, oh, these are my friends, like real human friends that I see and hang out with. And to some people, and honestly to me too, like that's enough. But then I also think like it's also a little sad, right? Like I wish I had more people around me, because people, they're important too. And then there's also like the opportunity cost of like, well, what else could I have been doing in those 5 years? Like around that time, when I last was like addicted, was during the Final Fantasy phase. Like that was around 2013, 2014, and that's when like all the coding boot camps kind of came up, and I noticed it. But then like I didn't do it because I was busy playing video games. And it's similar to my regret in dropping computer science as my undergrad. I always often think like I had two opportunities essentially. Like if I stuck with the undergrad of staying with computer science, where would I be now? Or in around that time when boot camp started to be this new thing that was getting people into the field. And when I say boot camps, it's coding boot camps. That like around 2013, 2014, that which was 10 years ago, like if had I done it, and then it was actually a lot easier to like find a job then after with boot camp experience. Like I would have had 10 years of experience at that time. Like where would I be now, And like that's definitely some regrets that I have, and I wish I had a little bit more foresight to think and consider my actions. But it is what it is. At this time, I don't play a ton of video games anymore. Occasionally, I mean, I still have a subscription to the Final Fantasy 14, but mostly because it's real life friends anyways in that group, and as well as my sister, and sometimes my brother would resubscribe, and then would just kind of like hang out online. But it's basically a replacement for a phone call rather than, and then we'll just go online and hang out and help each other or whatever. So like that I feel like is okay. And then like I've just realized since then that like just making stuff is just so much more fun. Whether it's crafting, whether it's woodworking, I was into woodworking for a period of time, whether it is writing code, making websites, baking, or content creation. Like it's just so much more fun to just make something rather than just consume. And the interesting thing is like, like with woodworking or like 3D printing, I actually now volunteer at a hackerspace near my house, and like I've been meeting people there. So, and then we're sharing our interests and stuff that way, and it's so much better than just like, oh, we gotta like craft 10 potions for this raid or something like that. And then, like, of course, with content creation, I'm connecting with a lot of people, and just having so much fun, just being able to, talk to you and just explore this new skill that I'm learning, and trying to be creative this way, using this as a creative outlet. So it's just definitely way more fun than just consuming. And yeah, so that's my story of when I was addicted to MMORPGs, video games, and why, and the things I wish I did differently. And I will talk to you tomorrow.